Have you ever thought about what would happen if a fun trip with friends took a really, really dark turn? Like a turn into absolute terror. Well, today we're diving into the chilling legend of Dumas Beach in Gujarat, India, and unpacking a story that is genuinely one of the country's most terrifying hauntings.
This isn't just some spooky phrase people say. For locals, it's basically a rule for survival, passed down for generations. It's a stark warning that you're about to enter a place where the line between our world and, well, whatever comes next, is said to be dangerously thin. All right, so let's set the scene. Our story follows 5 college friends, Mayur, Kushal, Ria, Arav, and Neil. They're kind of bored with the usual hangouts, They want something different, an adventure they won't find on a typical vacation. So they decide to visit the one and only, the legendary Dumas Beach.
Now, not everyone was thrilled with the idea. So to make sure everyone was comfortable, they made a deal, a pact. It was going to be a day trip. Simple. Get in, see the famous black sand beach, and get out long before sunset. No heroics, no staying late. A nice, safe plan. What could possibly go wrong?
So you're probably wondering, why all the rules? Why were they so nervous? Well, to really get what happens to them, you have to understand the legend of Dumas Beach itself, because the real horror story is literally buried right there, under the sand.
The first thing you'd notice about this beach is its sand. It's black, and that's at the heart of the whole legend. You see, for centuries, this place was a shmashana, which is a Hindu cremation ground. The local folklore says the sand is black because it's mixed with the ash from countless bodies burned right there on the shore. And this isn't just some story to scare tourists. It's believed that sometimes partially cremated bodies were buried right in the sand. To this day, local fishermen will not take their boats anywhere near that coast once the sun goes down. It really makes you think, The legend says that the souls of the departed are just tethered to this place. It's not just a beach, it's a coastline that's soaked in death, a history that the tide just can't seem to wash away.
So when our group of friends actually gets there, the whole scene is just strange. On one hand, the beach is packed with people. It's buzzing with activity, almost like a carnival. But underneath all that noise and energy, something feels deeply, deeply wrong.
They were expecting, a beach. What they got was this bizarre mashup. The sand wasn't just black, it felt weirdly loose. One of them even said it felt like there were hollow spaces right underneath their feet. And the weirdest part? Even with all the crowds, way down the coastline, there was this long stretch of beach that was completely unnervingly empty. As they're standing there, just taking in this weird scene, an old man who was collecting bottles walks up to them and drops this absolute bombshell. He points to that empty stretch of beach and tells them, "That part's a graveyard. Lots of people are sleeping down there." Talk about a direct warning. It's like the folklore they'd heard about just walked up and said hello.
And this is the exact moment that their nice, safe plan completely falls apart. It all comes down to one single decision, a choice to explore just a little bit further right as the sun was starting to dip below the horizon. It turned out to be a catastrophic mistake. It happened so fast. Kushal sees some old ruins way in the distance and just has to go check them out. But Ria has this terrible feeling and says no way. Arav decides to stay back with her. So Mayur, Kushal, and Neil start walking. But they don't get far before Neil gets completely spooked and just bails, turning right back around. And just like that, Mayur and Kushal are all alone, walking deeper and deeper into the empty zone. By the time they finally check out the ruins and turn around to head back, the sky has totally changed. The sun is gone. It got dark with a speed that felt unnatural. They try to follow their footprints back, but in the dark, the beach just seems to stretch on forever. It sinks in. They're lost, and absolute darkness is swallowing them whole. This timeline just shows you how quickly their situation goes from bad to worse. Around 6 p.m., their friends back at the entrance notice something eerie. Everyone, and I mean everyone, has left the beach. It's completely deserted. By late evening, Mayur and Kushal are just wandering in circles, their phone batteries screaming for life. And then, as true night takes hold, the real horror of Dumas Beach finally wakes up.
It all starts with sound. Faint, disembodied whispers on the wind. Kushal, Mayur. The voices seem to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. From the waves, from the sand, from the darkness right behind them. And you gotta remember that warning, right? Don't turn around if someone calls your name.
And then it gets personal. Terrifyingly personal. Mayur hears a voice that he knows. It's his grandmother, who vanished without a trace 8 years ago.
Think about that for a second. This is not some random spirit anymore. Whatever is out there on that beach with them, it knows them. It knows their history, their pain.
As if the voices weren't enough, another one of their senses is attacked. The air gets thick with this unmistakable phantom smell of burning wood, the smell of a funeral pyre. The beach's dark history as a cremation ground isn't just a story anymore. Now they can smell it.
And then they see it. Out of the darkness, a procession of figures dressed in white emerges, carrying a body on a pyre, and chanting Ram Nam Satyahe, a sacred Hindu funeral mantra. But this isn't some sad, ghostly vision. In a horrifying twist, the figures turn and they charge, running straight at them, waving burning logs like weapons.
They run for their lives, absolutely terrified, sprinting blindly into the ocean just to get away. They look back, and the procession is gone. But just as they try to catch their breath, standing in the dark water, this massive, glowing figure starts to rise up from the sea right in front of them. The shock, the fear, the pure exhaustion. It's just too much. They black out.
You'd think the story ends when the sun comes up, right? But for Mayura and Kushal, the horror was far from over. The aftermath of what happened on Dumas Beach is just as chilling as the night itself.
A search party finds them the next morning, passed out at the edge of the water. They're both incredibly sick, burning up with a high fever. But here's the really creepy part. There's no evidence of what they went through. No footprints from a chase, no burnt logs, nothing. All they have is their insane, unbelievable story.
And that trauma, it's stuck. To this day, Mayur is haunted by that phantom smell of the funeral pyre. He has nightmares and screams in his sleep, trapped back on that dark, endless beach. The haunting of Dumas Beach didn't stay at the beach. It followed him home.
So what really happened out there? I mean, is Dumas Beach really some kind of portal, a place where the dead are restless? Or is it possible that the human mind, when it's fed all this folklore and then gripped by pure absolute terror, can actually create its own monsters? Psychologists have a term for it, the expectancy effect. Basically, what you believe can become your reality. And that's the unsettling question that this whole legend leaves you with.